Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach comes out December 16th. Actually, by the time this video is done, it's definitely already out. Do you want to play the new game but you're more of a casual fan and don't know what's going on in the story? In other words, do you touch grass? If the answer is yes, then this video is for you. Also, what's that like? I haven't touched grass in years. So for those unaware, the story and lore of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, which will be referred to as FNAF from here on out, is complicated. There are canon details, non-canon details, parallel themes in the adjoining book series, spin-off games, spin-off books, activity books with very important details hidden inside of it, Five Nights at Freddy's Go. It's just a whole mess of things to muddy the water. If that wasn't enough, the story is very rarely just directly stated. Typically, you have to piece together disparate information from separate games to get any sort of information. Doing that is not my specialty. Luckily, other people have already pulled any and all information possible from these games. The problem is it's really dense, and if you're going off of just the confirmed information by itself, it doesn't tell that much of a story. It's just bare bones plot points. That's where theorizing comes in. FNAF and theories go hand in hand, part due to the cryptic nature of the lore of this game, and part due to the various YouTubers who try to piece it together. To get a proper sequential story for this series, you have to fill in some of the gaps on your own. A lot is left up to interpretation, and that is what I've spent the past few weeks on. I scoured the subreddit, the wiki, YouTube, I even played through all the games on my Twitch channel, which you should totally follow by the way, link in the description, to gather as much canon information and widely agreed upon theory as I could. What I'm about to present is, in my own opinion, the entire timeline of the story of Five Nights at Freddy's, ending at the beginning of Security Breach. Final side note, while I'm using as much canon information as I can, a good bit of this is my own speculation and opinion for what makes the most sense for the characters that we know. If you disagree with anything I say today or I get something wrong, feel free to correct me. Nicely. Don't be mean. I'm soft. I would love to make this timeline even more accurate, but with no further ado, here is the entire relevant story of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, and for bonus points, the correct order in which to play them. First, we need to identify our key players. There are two main families in this series, the Aftons and the Emilys. The Aftons consist of William, the father, his wife, who we never get a name for, and their three children, Evan, Elizabeth, and the oldest son, Michael. The Emilys are much smaller, consisting of Henry Emily and his wife, who we also don't get a name for. Come on, Scott, I know you're a Republican, but women are people, you can name them. And their daughter, Charlotte. William Afton and Henry Emily get their start making animatronic suits to create Fredbear's Family Diner sometime in the early 80s, for very different reasons. Henry is simply good at making animatronics and likes to make children happy. William, on the other hand, is the weirdo. He only seeks one thing in life, the secret to immortality. It's for this reason that, after the pair create the first offshoot, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, 2 restaurants in total so far, William asks Henry to assist him in creating one more line of robotics. With Henry's talent, they're able to make incredibly sophisticated bots, which they dub the Funtime Animatronics, to which go into Circus Baby's Pizza World. Pause. Let me specify some terms here which will become very important later on. There are two types of robots in this series, animatronics and springlock suits. An animatronic is what you typically think of when imagining FNAF and real-life examples like Chuck E. Cheese. They're rudimentary robots that move and entertain made of an exoskeleton and an endoskeleton. Springlock suits are special creations to this series. William and Henry created an animatronic suit that can switch between being worn by an endoskeleton or by a human. It does so by locking itself open using spring locks. If the locks are damaged, shook violently, or get wet, they often fail, which if someone is inside, it would crush them to death immediately. The first creations for Fredbear's Family Diner were these spring lock suits, but after realizing the potential hazards, they only made the animatronics from there on out. So, the Funtime animatronics are made, but they serve a special purpose unknown to Henry. William's specifications allow the Funtimes the ability to abduct children. His goal is to open Circus Baby's Pizza World, abduct a child, and experiment on them to find out more about aging and immortality. It's because of this that no matter how many times Elizabeth asks, William forbids her from going to the restaurant. Unfortunately for William, she sneaks in anyway for opening day. Elizabeth is enamored with Circus Baby, the titular animatronic, so much so that when all the other kids leave, she stays. Once she's alone, Circus Baby does what she's programmed to do, and scoops Elizabeth into her stomach violently. Elizabeth screams for help but can't be heard amongst the excitement of the children nearby. Elizabeth dies inside Circus Baby. Furious, William fakes a gas leak at the restaurant and shuts it down after its first day. He takes the animatronics back to his home and stores them in the underground facility underneath, which he has, of course. When he takes her out of Circus Baby to bury her, he notices that the eyes of the animatronics have changed color to match Elizabeth's eyes. After these events, William's life begins to spiral. His wife leaves him, he begins to drink, he ups the security of his own home so his children can't sneak out by adding a plush-like animatronic to watch over them like a hawk. You know, divorced dad things. Seeing this spiral, Henry disassociates with William and focuses all his time on Freddy Fazbear's, leaving Fredbear's Family Diner to William. William now despises Henry for splitting off, for helping to build the robot that killed his daughter, for his perfect family. William begins to stalk outside the pizzeria Henry operates and waits for revenge. Meanwhile, now the youngest Afton, Evan, wants to visit Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Too young to understand what happened to Elizabeth, he sneaks out to visit the newer pizza place. Henry, wary of William's stalking, creates the marionette to operate as a security puppet to watch over the children at the restaurant, and especially his daughter, Charlotte. Unfortunately, one day Charlotte is locked out of the restaurant by some bullies and the marionette is slowed down in its pursuit. In this brief moment, William is there and in a fit of rage, leaves a like on this video because it means a lot and helps me show it more in the algorithm. No, for real though, he kills Charlotte in cold blood, making her the first child he kills with his own hands. After he flees, the marionette finally makes it to Charlotte, but not only are they too late, the heavy rain damages and shuts down the animatronic. It's there that Charlotte's soul inhabits the puppet. However, while still lying there dead, Evan makes his way to the pizzeria, only to be greeted by this gruesome scene. He runs home thinking the marionette had killed Charlotte, and moving forward is terrified of animatronics. After the incident, Henry abandons working on all things Fazbear, goes into hiding, and contemplates taking his own life. Cut a little bit forward and Michael Afton is teasing his younger brother Evan for his newfound fear of animatronics, along with Michael's friends. On Evan's birthday, the joking goes too far. Getting carried away, the friends group hoist Evan into the mouth of the golden Fredbear springlock suit. But the constant stream of tears from Evan is enough to cause the locks to malfunction, snapping the jaws shut and killing Evan Afton, the victim of the bite of 85. Sad, scared, and confused, Evan's soul becomes trapped in the Fredbear suit, stuck in a sort of purgatory, reliving his trauma and fears. That is where I believe Five Nights at Freddy's 4 takes place, making it the first game you should play if you're trying to play them chronologically. Pause again. Don't worry, I know that was a long walk to only get to the first game, but I promise you the lore between games is a fraction of the backstory to the series. At this point, we're probably already a third of the way through the story. Michael Afton slinks into a deep depression, but William grows further furious. Already having an inclination for capturing and killing children to further his immortality research, he decides to run some experiments to kill two birds with one stone. William notices how Elizabeth dying in Circus Baby affected the animatronic, so he attempted to recreate that result. He closes down Fredbear Family Diner after the biting incident, but moves the springlock suits into the newer restaurant with less baggage, Freddy Fazbear's. It's there that he uses the disguise of the Golden Bonnie springlock suit to lure children one by one into the back room, kill them, and stuff their corpse into the animatronics at the restaurant. Susie into Chica, Jeremy into Bonnie, Gabriel into Freddy, Fritz into Foxy, and running out of regular animatronics, Cassidy into the Golden Fredbear springlock suit. Each of these children in turn possess the animatronics they've been stuffed into, but Cassidy is a special case, as Evan is already in the suit, though trapped and unaware of the outside world. Sensing this, Cassidy, who is now also stuck in the suit, begins to focus most of her attention to helping Evan in any way she can. The investigation of the 5 missing children gets too close for comfort, and William opens a new location, also named Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Real clever there, Will. Here he begins to experiment on the possessed animatronics, and so creates newer, cuter models to run the restaurant so he can keep the older ones to himself. In his experiments, he begins to dismantle the robots, causing them to look withered. It's here that he discovers a sort of tangible quality of soul, remnant. Remnant isn't solid, gas, or liquid or anything like that, but it can be infused into things. It resembles this glowing light. Still not satisfied with his amount of kid souls to work with, William starts killing again, 5 more kids in total. These souls, however, are now being shepherded. William brought all the old animatronics with him, including the marionette. Unknown to him, Charlotte was inside of this puppet and has the soul of a protector. Each time William killed in this new attraction, Charlotte would reach out to the lost soul and guide them to one of the new toy animatronics so they wouldn't be lost. Leading to the 5 new animatronics, Toy Freddy, Bonnie and Chica, Balloon Boy, and Mangle, originally Toy Foxy, to become possessed and aggressive. Jeremy Fitzgerald finds this out firsthand in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the next game to play chronologically. At the end of this story, Jeremy is killed by a frontal lobe bite by Mangle, causing the bite of 1987 and shutting down the franchise seemingly for good. William, realizing that the animatronics are really after him, grabs all the spare parts he can carry, sets the place on fire, and flees the location. The fire burns hot enough to fully melt down the newer animatronics, melt away the remnant, and release the souls to the beyond. However, the original 6, still in the location, don't burn down, but remain in an inoperable state. The marionette also doesn't melt, but sneaks away. William wants to continue his experiments, but out of restaurants and options, returns to the bunker where he stored the Funtime animatronics. Looking at the parts of the original 5 he has, he realizes there isn't enough remnant or robot to meaningfully observe. He then gets the idea to melt the parts together, combining the remnant, and to use his new device, the scooper, to infuse the Funtime animatronics with this mash of remnant. However, taking parts of disparate souls, melting them into one mass, and separating them into equal volumes doesn't leave you with full souls. Doesn't really leave you with anything recognizable. All William is left with are 4 animatronics that are erratic and crazed, all wanting to join into something together. Sometime later, probably in the early 90s, Michael decides enough is enough. Hearing the news of what happened, he's sure his father is out there somewhere and planning to strike again. So he begins to hunt William down. The first place he looks is the brand new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that opened with refurbished models of the original gang recovered from the old location. Not wanting a liability lawsuit, the company took the Springlock suits but left them in a back room, and put the refurbished Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy on display. Hearing this, Michael decides to get a job there as a security guard, hoping to find his father coming to visit. Unfortunately, he learns the consequences of what William has done first. The main 4 only have part of their original souls, and are so aggressive to any adult that sort of looks like William, his son being a perfect pick. Thus, the first game in the series, Five Nights at Freddy's, takes place. Yes, the first game is this far into the storyline. It's frustrating. After surviving a few nights of this, Michael decides to try and lay a trap for his father instead, rewiring the animatronics to seek out William and fleeing the location. Sure enough, before long, William arrives, hoping to get more remnant from the animatronics. As they come after him one by one, he leads them to the back room which they're programmed to avoid, and when confused, he dismantles them one at a time. However, once all 4 of them are dismantled, their souls become aggressive. The charge being led by Cassidy, the souls corner William. Thinking quickly, he puts the suit he used to kill them on to try and frighten them off. The Golden Body Springlock suit, which at this point is wet and dilapidated. The suit malfunctions, crushing William to death. His soul possesses the suit itself, and the entire back room is sealed away to prevent liability. It's during this time that I believe Cassidy creates an environment to allow the other spirits in the robotic suits to help Evan pass on. As they do this, Charlotte assists them as their main shepherd. Evan passes on. Remember, the other souls have already been split in 2. The original 5 souls flee back to the only other remnant of themselves left in the world, the combined, then separated innards of the Funtime animatronics, making them more aggressive than ever. Before he went to the location, William had the forethought to leave a message to Michael. Something along the lines of, "Go to that place, find Elizabeth." With the promise of finding his long-dead sister, Michael does go to the bunker of the Funtimes, and thus the next game chronologically, Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, begins. Now, this is the first game in the series with a very clear story to it, and I recommend just playing the game to get the lore. But if you're impatient, lazy, or don't want to put up with the Night 4 Springlock minigame, which I don't blame you for, I'll go over it here. Spoiler warning, I guess.
Welcome to the first day of your exciting new career.
Michael Afton surveys the area and finds that most of the animatronics are functioning strangely, none more so than Circus Baby. Circus Baby herself sounding a lot like Elizabeth Afton. Following her instruction throughout the night, Michael completes tasks in the bunker as he's supposed to, until eventually caught off guard by Funtime Foxy. He wakes up inside a Springlock suit, and in the world's hardest minigame, waits until morning where a mechanic sees him and lets him out. In between then and the next night, things change. One of the animatronics kill and hang the other 2 mechanics who visit the site. Ballor's insides, having been scooped, assist the other animatronics in scooping themselves, and once freed of their exoskeletons, the insides amass to form Ennard, a conglomerate of all the remnant-infused endoskeletons, trying to reform into something that feels natural. They then lay the trap for Michael. Michael goes down for his 5th night and proceeds to prep Circus Baby for the scooping room. At this point, Ennard is puppeting Circus Baby. Elizabeth's agency is fully gone. Ennard, pretending to be Elizabeth, guides Michael to the scooping room to scoop his insides out and make room for itself to pilot him. Their goal, to hide amongst the normal people and be free. Fun side note, up until this point the story had been people possessing robots, but you could say that at this point some robots possessed a person. I just think it's a really neat plot point. Obviously, this doesn't last long because Michael's corpse is just rotting away, until eventually Ennard has to flee the meat puppet. However, due to his prolonged exposure to Ennard and being scooped, which also doubles as a remnant injector, Michael's corpse has remnant in it and allows him to haunt his own body. So much so that if he covers himself in a sweatshirt and baggy clothing, he can sort of pass for a stinky human. Furious at seeing what William's meddling has created, he steals his resolve to find his father and ensure he's dead. But he's really bad at it, because this hunt goes on for 20 years. But around early 2020, an entrepreneur opens Fazbear Frights, a haunted house based on the rumors and news stories floating around the pizza franchise. Hoping to score some authentic material, the man running it, affectionately called Phone Dude by the fandom due to his surfer bro voice.
Hey, glad you came back for another night. I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time. We found some great new relics over the weekend, and we're out tracking down a new lead right now. So let me just update you real quick, then you can get to work.
Rummages through old pizzeria locations. Hearing about this, Michael manages to get a job, hoping this location will attract his father. Lo and behold, Phone Dude does this for him. Breaking down a sealed door, he finds the old Springlock Bonnie suit and brings it to the attraction, somehow unaware of the rotting corpse inside. I guess he's just a dumb guy. Thus, Michael begins to ensure that this is indeed his father, and we see Five Nights at Freddy's 3, chronologically the second to last game, take place. Once totally sure it's him, Michael attempts to burn down the facility and take his father with it. Just as last time, however, not hot enough. Let's step aside a bit. At some point during the past 20 years, Ennard has still been on the loose, but has also had an internal conflict. The massive endoskeletons have 5 meshed together souls, and Elizabeth. The friends didn't know her, and although they're messily conjoined together, Elizabeth is just kind of hanging out. Because of this, she is ejected from the conglomerate and reforms into Scrap Baby, the remaining parts forming into Molten Freddy. With so much time and grief gone by, one man who up until now has been in the background in a deep depression decides he has to right this wrong before he himself can pass on. Henry Emily, remember him? The guy we talked about 20 minutes ago? He's been keeping an eye on the news and sees that time and time again, fires burn these places down, but the original bots are too sturdy to melt. However, the new ones fully did, and they stopped, so he devises a plan. Henry builds a pizzeria-like trap and a new animatronic, his last one, Lefty, called so based on its acronym, LEFTE, Lure, Encapsulate, Fuse, Transport, Extract. Its purpose? Lure the marionette, encapsulate it, fuse with it, transport it to the new location, and extract itself into the trap. Working with Michael, they also lure in Scrap Baby, Molten Freddy, and Scrap Trap, the current form of William Afton. In this steel cage, Henry burns everyone and everything at an incredibly high temperature to finally free all of the trap souls and kill those responsible. This is the plot and gameplay of the last main original game chronologically, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. Quite the literal title, as it's only a simulated pizzeria. Seriously though, if you're gonna watch any cutscene from this entire series, watch the end cutscene to this game. It's great. But wait, if that's the end, why are there 3 more games and a mobile app? Well, somebody couldn't let bygones be bygones. Cassidy, the vengeful spirit, the inhabitor of Golden Freddy, wants revenge. Using all of her energy and rage, she attaches herself to William's soul and drags him to a hell-like purgatory to torture him for all eternity. This is Ultimate Custom Night. However, after an uncertain amount of time, Old Man Consequences convinces her to move on and let the demon be with his demons. Who is Old Man Consequences? I have no idea. But Scott's religious, so maybe it's just an allegory for the Christian God. He only shows up in spin-offs, so who cares? She does though. She moves on, but her actions have their own consequences. In trapping William as she did, she left a minute amount of remnant on one of the motherboards of the Spring Bonnie suit that didn't quite melt away. Cut to some time later, maybe 2030-ish, it's not clear. Someone buys the Fazbear brand and tries to revive it due to its potential. They decide to do the hip thing and make fun of themselves a bit to gain some favorable PR, making a VR game to do so. To add to its authenticity, they scan in anything they can find from the original franchises, including an old motherboard of a very burned and smelly suit. Thus, William's soul is transported into the game, manifesting in the form of Glitch Trap, this creepy-looking thing. Not having any real power outside the game, he attempts to brainwash the first player he can find, a tester for the company. This tester manages to free himself of William's influence by the totally safe method of cutting his own face off with a paper slicer. After his death, Vanessa, the next tester, takes over the role. William does get into her mind and fully brainwashes her. She eventually puts on the mask and listens to every command he gives her. Thus, the VR game Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. The mobile app Special Delivery is also created by this company, but it just gives us some added insight into the goings-on of how Glitchtrap is affecting things, and doesn't really necessarily affect the plot. So Vanessa, now going by Vanny, has traveled to the brand new Freddy's location to continue William's legacy. Thus, the premise of Five Nights at Freddy's security breach. Again, this is by no means the only true interpretation of the FNAF story. There are a lot of ambiguities throughout it, and places where you just have to speculate. Not to mention, it's very likely that I missed something or got something that is confirmed wrong. There's a lot of info here, and I'm no professional FNAF researcher, so feel free to leave your interpretations or any corrections in the comments. I only ask that if you're going to correct me with canon details. Don't say my speculation is wrong by evidence of your speculation. That's not how anything works. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it took a lot of effort, and frankly, it will really hurt my feelings if nobody pays attention to this. If you want to see more videos like it, leave a comment on what it would be on, because I have no idea what to do next. Oh, and follow me on Twitch. There's a schedule that I try to stick to depending on how early my baby goes to bed, but I play games there a lot, and I like to think I'm entertaining. Oh my god, there's so many things happening. So the marionettes, Chica's, and there was like 6 animatronics. We have a blast, and I'd love for you to visit. Besides, I read the comments, but if you want to have a real conversation about this video or FNAF lore in general, your best bet is chatting live on Twitch. Alright, now that all that self-promo is done, go on, enjoy the new game. I'll probably release another video once I get to play it, explaining how it continues the storyline and maybe how it changes what we think already happened. But until then, stay toasty.